Hey guys, and welcome back to my BookTube and Author channel. Today we'll be doing part 2 of the Child of the Can't even say my own book name. Child of the Dragon Prophecy question and answer session. So if you haven't seen the first one, please go and watch it so you can get kind of the overview about my world and everything. And without further ado, let's dive into this one. Next question is a little bit happier. How did I originally come up with the idea for my series? What inspired me to write these books? And like, how did it come to me? This is kind of another one of those questions where I'm not entirely sure because I started writing it so long ago and it has changed so much. But I remember reading like the Chronicles of Narnia, the Inheritance Cycle, and like Dragon Riders of Pern, or the Kingdom series, or stuff like that. And I knew that I just wanted to make a series like that myself. I didn't know of any other books that were basically young adult fantasy, even adult fantasy. And so it was, to me, it was a small genre. So I was obviously very mistaken, but I thought there weren't very many books in the genre, and I decided I needed to write books in the genre to make it a bigger genre. The idea was kind of birthed after I got sick of my friend and first writing partner not letting me do more in the book we were writing together. I kind of had to always go off of what she wanted to do and her backstory and stuff, and I kind of finally got sick of that and started brainstorming my own idea. And also because the book we were writing didn't have dragons in it, and that was just a really big problem to me. Like, why write a book if it doesn't have dragons in it? At least that was 12-year-old me's way of thinking. So I kind of started brainstorming the idea, and when she bailed on the book we were writing together, I decided I didn't need her anyway, and officially started writing on my own book. I once explained my plotting/writing process to a friend, and she summed it up as Dungeons and Dragoning the plot. And I thought about it for a long time, and I 100% agree with her. I always knew the beginning, middle, and end of my book. There was never once any time where I didn't know where my book was going. I always knew where it was going. And I was always writing on that plot line. But then it was like all these little things just kept coming up where it was like, ooh, but I want to put centaurs in here. And ooh, what if we killed her parents, you know? And so in a way it was like I was kind of pantsing it, so I guess it would kind of be a sort of hybrid, you know, between plotting and pantsing. But it always worked into the plot, and I would still write my ideas down in my outline. But mostly I just plotted idea after idea after idea until when I finished writing book 1, it was long enough to be 4 books. I never really counted word count. I just counted page count, which was, you know, it's grossly a disfigured number depending on spacing and whatever. And then after a few rewrites, the 4 books became 6 books. So it's always been the same plot, it's always gone along the same thing, but just any time that I had a lightning bolt of inspiration or decided I needed a certain type of magic or whatever, I just plotted it in, and it was just kind of a mess at first. But for the most part, I never had to worry about my books. I would say that all of my inspiration was basically divinely inspired. I knew I had been given a story and a world, and basically I always felt like all I was doing was recording what had happened, and it was like I was always learning more. It wasn't necessarily like I decided I wanted to have centaurs, but rather something told me there's centaurs in this world, or by the way, Stefania's parents were like this, and they did this and this and this, or whatever. So I never had to worry about plot holes or character arcs because it just all came to me, and the plot holes were eventually filled in because things started falling into place. I started discovering more. I had a mysterious type of magic that kind of went on in the later books, and I wasn't sure what it was, but all I knew was that this one event happened with a mysterious magic. And then once I discovered that it was like the ancient magic and I was able to work it into the plot, all of the skeleton of the plot that I had already written out without even knowing what anything really was, suddenly all fit together and made sense. So it always felt really divinely inspired. Next one, do I make playlists for my characters or books? I started writing so long ago that I didn't even know this was a thing until last year when I joined Bookstagram. I have made a few epic score, movie score, game score playlists, on Spotify. But before that, I listened to basically just like a bunch of CDs my parents had. I had a Pirates of the Caribbean CD, Andrea Bocelli, Govi, just anything I could get my hands on. I also listened to a lot of YouTube, just like Nightcore and stuff like that. But that is now all changing as I start writing Come Sit With Me, which is a companion novel to the Shadows of Light series, and as I start outlining my dark fairy tale retelling of Snow White, Ash Black and the Seven Wolves, which I'm really excited for. I am starting to make playlists for certain characters and for certain books now. How do I find the time and motivation to write? I don't really have a specific answer for this. It's changed many, many times over the years. At first, it was the need to read the book I had written. That's what kept me going. And then after a while, it was kind of like a need to prove that I could write a book. It's kind of a selfish sort of phase. Sometimes it was guilt that I had put too much time into the books to stop writing them. That was the only thing that motivated me sometimes. Sometimes it was only my parents pushing me to finish, sometimes it was just being bored, and sometimes it was because I had a lightning bolt of inspiration. I wrote pretty erratically, definitely like a marathon but burn yourself out version of a marathon writer. I would write for like 8 hours straight one weekend and then not pick up the book for like another 3 months or something. So I never had a schedule. If I didn't feel like writing, I just didn't. It wasn't like my job yet, so I was still being homeschooled, living on a farm. It wasn't super high priority. But now my motivation is overwhelmingly because I just love my world and my book characters so much. I just miss them whenever I don't write. And just the need to tell other people this story that I have, and for them to meet these characters and to keep writing, to finally be done with the first books and move on to the companion novels I'm looking forward to. But it took 3 or 4 years of editing horrible characters that I hated to get here, so it's been a bit of work. As for finding time, I live on a farm. And I know a lot of people don't exactly know everything that entails, but there is no concept of time except that you never have any, and you wake up with the sun and you go to sleep with the sun. That's pretty much the only concept of the time you have on a farm. So the writing time I get is when I could be sitting watching TV, or when I could be reading or playing video games, and I choose instead to write. And sometimes when I should be sleeping. But I don't usually make it past 10 p.m. because either Webtoons gets in the way or I'm too tired. But it's also just whenever I can slip away from the projects I'm doing to write. In the last couple weeks, my mom and I have devised a schedule. We do farm projects until 2, and then I am released to do whatever other work I want, whether that's managing my small businesses, writing, doing YouTube videos, and just whatever I need to do. I think probably the key to having time to write is eliminating any other duties first, so that you can hold other people accountable to your writing time and not them needing you to do anything or having anything over your head. But that's just been my experience. You should also just, whenever you have time, you should just do it. Let's see, what are some things I wanted to do, like maps, art, etc., that I might not have the money or time to do right now? I don't like not being able to do anything, so I actually did my own art and map making, which I feel very fortunate that I'm able to do. But I was wanting to do some t-shirts and sweatshirts, but the company I wanted to do in my city, I was like overbooked on printing for weeks, and I'm just not going to get them done in time. I also wanted to do some necklaces, but it would be way too much money going into it and would probably be too expensive for the customers to get it after all the expenses and stuff, so I probably won't be doing that yet, but I am very happy that I was able to get art and maps done. How many words do I have to a chapter? I have anywhere between 2,000 to 7,000 words, but I do have some chapters that dip down to like 800, and probably 1 or 2 that go up to like 8,000, just depends. I don't really do words per chapter. I know some people do. I just, whenever there's a break, I just chapter break. What do I look for or dislike in a first book in a series, and as a reader, how did that influence my writing? I'm not actually super picky about books, so this was kind of hard for me to think about, but I thought about it, and I actually did come up with a couple things. One thing I'd never like about first books is how small the world always seems. With writers who are trying not to info dump, their world often feels very dull, not very well thought out, and like it doesn't have a lot of potential. And that also comes from people who haven't written the rest of the series yet, I think, and don't totally know everything about their world until they continue writing. So I wanted my world to feel expansive and just full of potential and beauty, and that you really were in a complete world instead of just a snippet of something that someone made up and then didn't worry about the rest or whatever. I did have a lot of problems with info dumping because of that and because I'm an overwriter. But once again, thanks to an editor, I hope and pray that I have it cut down. I also don't like first books that wrap up by the time they're done. I really, really like cliffhangers. Like, as much as I hate them, I love them because it does motivate me to read the next book. Because otherwise, if it wraps up nicely and it's not like the most amazing book in the world, I guess, like something that really stirred my heart and I just had the need of this overwhelming urge to read on, then I'm probably not gonna pick up the next one as likely. So mine does end on a cliffhanger. It's not a super bad one, but it does end on one. Okay, the next one is not a writing related question, but when I saw it, it bloomed with joy. So this question is, where did I get my bone collection from? All of the bones I have in my collection are animal bones. Most of them are skulls, but I do have some others, like bones like teeth and leg bones and things like that. I've been gifted some, like for my 16th birthday, my friends gave me a cow skull, and later they gave me a coyote skull. My brother found a roadrunner skull and gave it to me, and another family friend gave me a pig skull. Others I found myself, like a wild pig jaw, a raccoon skull, and an opossum skull. And then some others, like my rabbit skulls and sheep skulls, were from animals that passed away on our farm, and whose bones I brought back to collect after we set them back on our property at a place that we call Sacrifice Rock. It's basically just a big rock over a bluff, and unfortunately you can't bury every animal that dies on a farm, and it feels terrible to just put them in the trash. So we just always take them out into nature and just leave them, but it always looks like it's just this sacrifice. So that's what we called it. Next question, why is Dalton separated from his dragon? This is a question from my dear and amazing author, Heather. And Heather, you are right, I cannot say just yet because of spoilers, but you will find out in book 5, which is kind of a long ways away, but hopefully not too long. I do plan on writing his companion novel, which will have Drox and Andromeda as well, so that's super exciting. They have a very complex story. For those of you who don't know, Drox and Andromeda are Stefania's parents. So they do have a very complex story altogether, and I'm very excited to flesh that out and actually make it a whole companion novel. I think I am at my last question. Yes. How is writing going? Writing's going really, really well, actually. I am perfect printing my book, which is actually having it bound, for the very first time. I have printed my book many, many, many times in the past, but it's always been like with spiral binding or notebook binding or just a printer at home. And I will be also using the new cover that I drew for it. It is beautiful. It's my favorite cover that I've made so far out of the hundreds that I've designed. I'm so excited to get that printed out. I'm also 20,000 words into a companion novel whose working name is Come Sit With Me, and I'm having so much fun with that book. The writing is coming so well to me. It's very, very nice to finally write a first draft again. Like I was saying earlier, it's not very much fun to edit a 12-year-old's writing. However, writing something that you can put all of your knowledge, experience, and skill into the very first time is fantastic. I highly recommend it to anybody. I've also finally figured out what needs to be rewritten again in book 2. I've been rewriting book 2 for probably about a solid year and a half, but I kind of came to a part where I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I have figured that out, so I'm probably about 40 pages out from being done with book 2's rewrite, and then I will be looking for beta readers very, very soon. I'm also outlining Ash Black and the Seven Wolves, which is my Dark Snow White retelling, and I am elated for that one. I never thought I would do a fairy tale retelling, but this is really exciting me. My tentative release date for Child of the Dragon Prophecy, which is the book I've been talking about, my debut novel in the Shadows of Light, is hopefully going to be June 8th. So we are coming up very, very, very soon on this. I'm hoping to do a cover reveal around the end of April and starting my launch team at the beginning of April. So if you are interested in being on my launch team, then please check the links below. Subscribe to my newsletter on my website where you'll get updates on how you can proceed and help with that. Things are finally starting to happen for my publishing journey, and everything is finally starting to feel real, and I cannot express how excited that I am. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you found my world and my book very interesting. If you have any more questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I will be updating progress on its publication on my website and also on my Instagram page, which I will link down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and for joining me on this journey. May the sun smile upon your presence.